empty hearts and neon lights. They're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that
Hey guys,
finally
it's Jenn
feels
from
like
Team A.J. Hope you guys are all doing well. We are at a very exciting historical event here today here at the Convention Center in downtown New Orleans.
That's what they told me. You know, when they contacted me to do this event, you know, I'm the MC for this event. This is actually going to be the exhibit for the Civil Rights Museum. The permanent museum is projected to be a part of the extended wing that's yet to be constructed here. But this is a $2.5 million exhibit. That's really exciting.
This is exciting.
So it gives you some idea of what the whole thing is going to look like once the final complex has been constructed.
So for those that do not know who you are, we know you as Uncle Norman.
That's right, because we're family.
Oh yes, okay. If you
I'm
want to tell them, if you want to tell them on the video,
Yeah.
He is my husband's family.
Yes,
So,
we're family.
So who are you?
And I'm a retired broadcast journalist. You know, I've been tooling around the broadcast industry for 45 years. I retired in 2014 after 24 years with WDSU as their main news anchor. Of course, that was my last duty station. Prior to that, I was with CBS News, White House correspondent, and prior to that, I was with WWL-TV. And prior to that, I was with WVUE-TV, and prior to that, I was
He can go on and on and on.
I was with WALA-TV in Mobile, Alabama, and prior to that, I was with KYMS Radio and WABB Radio. So this is like 45 years of stuff. You know?
Not to brag, but he's a New Orleans legend.
He is a New Orleans legend, for sure.
That's what they tell me, you know. But, you know, I'm just an old newscaster who had a very curious mind, that's what it takes to make a good journalist, you know. Because journalism is what? It's an extension of the word journey. Mm-hmm. So what we do as journalists, we go on a journey to find stuff out, basically.
What a great way of putting it.
So this is the first Civil Rights Museum in Louisiana.
Yes, this has been in the works for a long time because there's a Civil Rights Museum Board of Commissioners that's been around for decades, and finally they made some headway with this lieutenant governor, which also happens to be the head of tourism in the state of Louisiana, and ironically enough, he's a Republican, and he's the first lieutenant governor to actually do something with the Louisiana Civil Rights Museum. How about that? You know,
salute to you. We love you. This is a historical moment here in New Orleans.
Yeah. So he developed a coalition with the Civil Rights Museum Board of Commissioners, and they prevailed on him to do something to get this thing jump-started, and he did. He was instrumental in getting this space open here in the Convention Center as the museum exhibit, and now they're working on finding a permanent space in the new wing that's projected to be constructed sometime in the future.
We're so excited. We are so excited for this.
Yeah.
I know this means so much to so many people here.
Oh, I'm telling you, for the Board of Commissioners?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I think they said it's been over 30 years in the making.
Oh yeah, and they told me when the lieutenant governor started this, they said, don't you forget to tell people that we've been working on this thing for 30 years. And thankfully, the lieutenant governor came along and said, yes, let's do this. It's about time. You know, he was embarrassed in Scottsdale, Arizona, in 2018 when he went out there for Lieutenant Governor's Convention, and the states of Mississippi and Alabama were bragging about their contributions to civil rights. And he looked around and said, we don't have anything like that in Louisiana. So he said, I'm going to do something about that. So he rolled up his sleeves and started going to work. And we thought he was crazy because we thought he would never actually make it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And here we are today.
And he pulled it off. Yeah.
And here we are today.
Yeah, here we are.
So Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It's so good to see you.
It's good to be seen and not viewed.
I know. We always see each other in passing sometimes at some events, but we don't get to say hi. So here we are today, and this is going to be amazing. So they're going to release a little more information today about what's going on.
There are people here who know a lot more than I know, and you're going to hear from them.
Oh yeah, they're going to be up there.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you, and we will see you soon.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Norman Robinson, your lovely and talented Master of Service. This event takes place against the backdrop of the Louisiana Civil Rights Trail, which was launched 2 years ago on May 3rd with the first marker going up at Dookie Chase Restaurant. To date, we have 14 historical markers. And you might be interested to know that this was an event that was started by the Lieutenant Governor in 2019. We thought he was nuts when he started it because we didn't think he could ever pull it off, but he did. And the reason he started it, he was at a convention in Arizona with a bunch of people from Mississippi and Alabama, and they were bragging on their contributions to the civil rights movement and its glorious history. And he didn't have anything to show from Louisiana. So he set out to roll up his sleeve and correct that. And we are here now to give you just a taste of what the permanent Civil Rights Museum will look like when the new wing of the Convention Center is constructed. So it is my pleasure to welcome you to the debut of this $2.5 million space, which is the exhibit for the Louisiana Civil Rights Museum. My first task is to introduce a person who has intimate knowledge of the impact of the project to the convention and the iconic new asset to the blueprint of this great hall. He is the president of the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center. Please welcome Mr. Michael Sawaya.
We are overwhelmingly proud of the role that the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center has played in hosting this inaugural exhibition, acknowledging the struggles, triumphs, and strides made in the name of equality and social justice. We are so looking forward to sharing the inaugural experience with the nearly 1 million visitors we host annually, as well as the citizens of Louisiana, whom we know will be enriched through this experience. In 2018, we embarked on a transformative pursuit to reinvigorate our facility in order to keep us competitive nationally and attract even more visitors in the future. This one-of-a-kind exhibit is consistent with our vision to modernize and enhance our attraction for convention and visitors the world over. I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor and his staff, the State Office of Museums, the Louisiana Civil Rights Museum Advisory Board, the Solomon Group, and the members of the Exhibition Hall Authority, and specifically our Commissioner Don Hubbard, who will be speaking here today. All of us work collaboratively to ensure that this long-awaited story of the Louisiana Civil Rights Movement begins now. Thank you, and let the Civil Rights Museum exhibition serve as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in Louisiana and the nation.
I got you. He looks like a little boy, but actually he's older than I, and I'm 72. He is the designer, and he is the vision behind the experimental concept of the new museum. It is my pleasure to introduce Gary Solomon from the Solomon Group.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we stand here at the crossroad of history and the future in the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center. I am very honored and very humbled to represent Solomon Group's work as the exhibit producer as we proudly lift the curtain on this inaugural Civil Rights Museum experience. At the heart of this experience, you'll find a carefully curated narrative that seeks to underscore the very essence of our civil rights journey here in Louisiana. As you navigate the exhibition, you'll journey through 3 fundamental rights: the right to assemble, the right to education, and the right to vote. These pillars weave stories of determination, resilience, and the profound human spirit that have shaped our state's history. Our team at Solomon Group, in collaboration with our local content creator partner GMAC and our design partner Local Projects, have worked tirelessly to translate these stories into an experiential reality. This team's combined expertise has ensured this museum is not just a cultural destination, but it's a living, breathing testament to those who came before us. We have worked tirelessly to breathe life into these exhibits and these interactives, and hopefully capturing moments in time that resonate deeply with each of you and with each of in our cultural fabric. As you journey through, one of the many standouts in this experience is what we fondly call the Dream Cube. This is an immersive space that is designed to transport you back in time, where you can imagine walking alongside protesters in the early civil rights marches, or joining the brave first Black students as they took those monumental steps into a desegregated school. This is not just history, it is a lived experience. I want to take a moment to acknowledge everyone who contributed to the realization of this dream, to our teams at Solomon Group and Local Projects, and to Glenda McKinley's team at GMAC. Your creativity and your passion and your dedication have turned this vision into a reality. And on behalf of the entire project team, we'd like to thank Michael Sawaya and the team here at the Ernest N. Memorial Convention Center, and an special heartfelt thanks to Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser for entrusting our teams with this monumental responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a museum that is far more than a collection of stories and images. It's a reminder of the paths that were walked, the battles that were faced, and the very bright future we are all building together.
She is a legend of the civil rights movement. She is the brainchild, the genesis of this project, the investment, and the development process of this new museum. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a hand to Brenda Williams, Civil Rights Museum Advisory Board President.
Thank you, Norman. You're very generous with all of that. I don't take any claim to fame about this introductory exhibition, but I do come to you with a lot of very, very high emotions, because it was in 2008 that we gathered around a table and were charged with forming this Louisiana Civil Rights Museum Advisory Board that has helped to bring this exhibition about. 15 years ago, it has taken us that long with very little money, all volunteers, most times without a curator or a project manager, yet we forged on because we knew just how important this exhibition is to not only us, but to all of the people of Louisiana and to all of the people who will walk through these doors from all parts of this country and the world. People know New Orleans. People know Louisiana. We should not have to go to museums in other states to learn about our heritage. It is so rich. It is so rich. And we need to know the stories. We need to know how we got to where we are today, and most importantly, how we are going to get to where we want to be. So I want to stay true to our mission. Our mission is to use the Louisiana experience to educate, to embrace, to help to heal all of the wounds that may have been there. And then most importantly, using all of those facets, come together and as one Louisiana, move on to engage for civil rights and social justice for all of Louisiana's people. That's what this exhibition is going to be about. This is just a taste. We still want to push forward until our final permanent museum comes to be. So we're going to need everybody's help, We're going to need money. We're going to need to restructure our board because as an advisory board, we really don't have any power. We need to become a full-fledged board so that we can raise money. We can't simply depend on the state for this. Everybody has a stake in it. So we need to do these things. We want to look forward to moving into our space, our new space, and we need your help to tell us your stories. We need those stories from Amy to Zwali. We need the 64 parishes. That's the information that we need to go in. You don't see yourself? Tell us your story. And on October the 7th and October the 8th, and throughout the time that this museum is open, you'll have an opportunity to tell us your stories. Give us contact information. Show us your documentation. And that is what we want to use to make the Louisiana Civil Rights Museum a center for civil rights and social justice for all of the people of Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. The next speaker is a great friend to the civil rights movement. He has more lives than a 9-live cat. I call him the stealth civil rights leader because he moves swiftly behind the scenes. Remember the story of Goodman, Cheney, and Swerner? Let me see the hands of how many of you know what I'm talking about. Goodman, Cheney, and Swerner, the civil rights leaders. 2 Jewish men and an African American were working in Mississippi to register people to vote who were killed by the Klan and the Sheriff's Department and buried in a dam. Yes, sir. Don Hubbard could have been one of those people. Perhaps he will share the story with you when he went to New York to drive a car back through Klan country. He is a prolific wordsmith, never loses his composure. In fact, he's been known to turn a witty phrase here and there. I remember as a political reporter once, we were covering a trial of a Louisiana politician who had gotten in trouble. Go figure. Don showed up to the trial wearing a houndstooth jacket. And one of the reporters asked, Don, why are you here? He says, you see the jacket I'm wearing? I heard that was going to be a hunt here today. Here now to talk about the impact of the museum from a community impact perspective, the legendary Don Hubbard, civil rights leader and community advocate.
Well, let me say thank you for your part of the vision, Lieutenant Governor, and starting with the Civil Rights Trail, because it certainly brings back a lot of things that has gone on in my life over the years. We were in the first part of the exhibit and they were laughing because I introduced them to a picture of me and I had hair. I said, man, that's you with hair? Yeah, I had hair and it was black and I had a fro too. But the beautiful thing about this Civil Rights Museum is the stories that you will see here are not just stories. None of us were involved in the movement in the 60s and the 70s because we expected to be here in a museum. We did it because it was the right thing to do. My involvement in the whole civil rights movement came when I was about 5 years old, when my mother decided to give me a treat. And that treat was a ride on the St. Charles Avenue streetcar. Well, I was happy about that ride on the streetcar because my dad worked for the railroad. And I thought it was like a train. And we boarded the streetcar, and some kids were playing up front, and I kept saying to my mother, Mama, I want to play up there. She said, no, baby, sit right here with Mama. I said, no, Mama, I want to go up there. She said, no, baby, sit right here with Mama. Well, I didn't know that the kids that were playing up front, I didn't know that they were white. Because I'm 5 years old. I don't know kids. I know they were kids. And I said, Mama, why I can't sit up there? And I could still hear my mother saying to me, baby, they're waiting for you to change it. They're waiting for you to change it. So from that ride on the streetcar, I've dedicated my life to changing it. You're going to see people throughout the exhibit. They weren't interested in being heroes. They put their lives on the line. When you talk about Bogalusa, you're going to talk about the Hicks family in Bogalusa, Louisiana, when the Ku Klux Klan came to their house and asked Mr. Hicks to put the white boys out of the house because they didn't want the white boys sleeping in the house with black people. And his wife went and got the shotgun and said, they're not coming out, y'all ain't coming in. And the other deacons for the fence were in the trees around the house, guarding the house to keep the Klan from killing those 2 white kids that was in there, in their house. You know, we take a lot of it for granted. We take a lot of it for granted. You know, when my friend James Chaney, Lena Horne, y'all are a little bit too young to remember singing about the name of Lena Horne. Lena Horne arranged for us to use several vehicles in the Mississippi Summer Project. And I was asked to drive a Ford Falcon station wagon from New York City to Canton, Mississippi. I don't know, I'm a New Orleans guy, I don't know. I just said, okay, I'll do it. I thought I could drive nonstop from New York to Canton, Mississippi, and I got deep into Mississippi and couldn't keep my eyes open. Well, I pulled into a service station to get some gas, and as I'm in that service station, I realized that the 2 white guys sitting on the bench were not going to come and pump that gas for me. I had to pump that gas for myself. So I paid the 26 cents a gallon for the gas. And I pulled out. And when I got to the corner, I'm still sleepy and can't keep my eyes open. And there's a white kid with an Air Force uniform on, coming to ride. And I asked him, where you going? He said, Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. I said, well, I'll give you a ride if you drive. He said, great. He got behind the wheel. I got on the back seat of that car and went to sleep. He woke me up when he got to Jackson. He said, I'm going further south. You're going the other way. I think about it a lot because if the Klan had pulled that car over with me and that young boy, with all that core paraphernalia in the back, they would have murdered both of us. He saved my life, and God made sure he saved his. I'm thinking about those kind of things that happen in our life. I'm thinking about how we were arrested here in New Orleans. I'm thinking how I was arrested on my front porch here in New Orleans, charged with lottery at a house that my parents owned. Lottery, no visible means of support, at a house that my parents owned. New Orleans has come a little bit of a long ways. And I hope that this exhibit will let you know that it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. And when you look at those 4 little girls who had no idea that their lives were in danger, who went to integrate those 2 schools, you could just think about how their parents prayed when they put them in those automobiles to send them to those 2 schools that morning. So I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for starting this Civil Rights Trail. He's brought up some things that in Louisiana that happened. I had no idea what went on. But I was in Bogalusa, Louisiana, and we pulled some bodies out of the river. We put some bodies out of the river with folk with core t-shirts on. A lot of stuff was never ever talked about. So there's a lot for us to understand, a lot for us to build on, and a lot for us to take further, and a lot for us to ask you for your money to help us build a permanent facility that looks like no other one in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fantabulous. She is a legend in her own right. She is a living monument to history. She will share her story of integrating McDonough 19 Elementary School as a 6-year-old child. And she will share her story of establishing the Leona Tate Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please give an ovation to Leona Tate, founder, executive director of Leona Tate Foundation.
Good early afternoon.
Good early afternoon.
Thank you, everyone that's here. But I really want to thank Lieutenant Governor Nungesser for what you've done and what you're continuing to do. I don't know how we would have gotten to this point. I also want to thank all his staff that has worked diligently to help him along the way. I'm here today to congratulate the Louisiana Civil Rights Museum and the members that worked so hard and so long to get it started. And this thanks and congratulations come from the Tate, Etienne, and Prevost Interpretive Center, which was the former McDonough 19 Elementary School, where I was one of the first to integrate that school in 1960. Oh yeah, at 6 years old, I had no idea what we were doing. I simply thought a parade was coming, but that's what it looked. But I really found out later that it wasn't about a parade. I want to always remember what everyone has done. I want to continue students to share these experiences of what we went through. But I want them to share it and learn how to take something and do something positive with it. Don't let my sad story make you go the other way. Stay focused and do the things you need to do and leave the negativity alone. I know the members of this organization that created this museum thought like we did. It took a long time. But when I realized and I look back, I knew it was God's time. And we just had to wait on Him. I want to applaud you, and I also want to thank you, because this history needs to be told, and it needs to be told everywhere. And thanks again to the Lieutenant Governor, because I don't know, we've been placed on the Civil Rights Trail also, and it has brought us a lot of attention that we really need. And people come from all over that don't know this story. They come in with one feeling and they leave out with another. And I thank God for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tate. The next speaker I came to know through his father as a fledgling political reporter. He was, at the time when I was a reporter at WWL Television, he was the chairman of the Louisiana Republican Party, and I used to cuss him out all the time, and he used to cuss me out all the time because we never agreed on political ideology. I'm talking about Willie Nungesser, the late father of Billy Nungesser. I can call him Billy. I inherited him from his daddy. And he's been back to haunt me ever since. This whole thing started with me involved in 2019. I was a Rotarian. I happened to be immediate past president of the Rotary Club of New Orleans. And we were entertaining a French delegation from Orléans. And I called Billy to ask him if he would arrange a reception for the Orleans delegation. Not only did he arrange the reception, he attended, and he gave them a great lecture on the history of France and Louisiana. And afterwards, he asked me, he said, I had retired by then. He said, so what are you doing now? And I should have said, I'm preoccupied. But what he said was, how would you feel like moderating town hall meetings to start a Louisiana Civil Rights Trail? So I said, moderate a Civil Rights Trail? And so we ended up traveling some 3,000 miles all over the state, talking to people about how a Civil Rights Trail should look and what it should include and who it should include. And I never thought he would pull it off. By the way, he is the first lieutenant governor who is in charge of tourism, as you know, to take on the civil rights movement, the history of the civil rights movement, as a statewide project. The very first. And as you know, there have been many. He is the progenitor of the development of museum, the inspiration, the impact and significance, and of course the Louisiana Historic Civil Rights Trail. Here to talk about his reason for launching this ambitious project, it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana, Billy Nungesser.
I never know what Norman's going to say. Thank you all for being here today for this historic moment. This project has been talked about for many years, and I'm so proud of the team that worked so hard to make this happen. I want to thank the Civil Rights Advisory Board. Brenda Williams, I remember that first meeting when you passionately told me that we need to do this, and I said we will do it. I didn't know how, but surely you never let up, and your team and your passion is second to none. So thank you so much for keeping me focused and keeping behind me, because yes ma'am, I did. And Michael and Don and the Convention Center Board, who would have thought to put this agreement together to do this in this incredible building where everyone coming to New Orleans will be able to see. Your efforts has been second to none. Thank you very much. And Gary Solomon and your team, wow. This Dream Cube is incredible, and it's going to be a wow factor, and something we needed here. And then Wendell Pierce and Lynn Whitefield, the voices of the museum, for them to lend their voice. And then of course my staff, the team across every department under my office that worked with this whole team around the state. And Norman, you added joy, passion, and a little fun to that trip around the state, the many trips, inspiring people to come forth and tell their story. And it's just been an incredible team effort. And Glenda and Ernest, and G-Mac. Ernest, a young man that designed these markers, I couldn't imagine what they were going to look like. But to have them stand a little tall with those bright colors, just incredible design work. The talent of this young man, let's give him a round. And I was inspired after learning at a tourism summit in Arizona to hear Alabama and Mississippi brag about their civil rights trail. And I leaned over to Doug, our tourism director, and before I got up to speak, I said, do we have a civil rights trail? And he said, I don't think so. And I said, why not? He said, I don't know. So I got up and told the crowd, we have a lot of things in Louisiana, but I don't think we have a civil rights trail. But I'm gonna go home and find out why not. And when I came home and we assembled an incredible team to travel the state, I was blown away by the heroes right here in Louisiana. And the work that started, that sparked a lot of the movement around the country was started right here. And the 3,000 miles they traveled, they spoke with activists, heroes, families, community leaders, pastors. And we didn't want to just tell a story. We wanted to hear the story from the people that lived it. And boy, what a story it was. Those heroes, to recognize the incredible work. And the students at Southern Grammar that did the hard work researching the facts to make sure we got it right. And what we uncovered, the people that stood up and sat down to bring their stories to life, we wanted to get it right. And the stories were incredible. The Southern students that sat in Baton Rouge, I can't imagine. A young college student sitting in at a counter, knowing they would be kicked out of college. But they did it anyway. And then that march, the longest march, 105 miles from Bogalusa to Baton Rouge, and Leona Tate. I remember the story you told about thinking it was a Mardi Gras parade. And your mom was saying, oh no, this ain't no parade. Keep your head down. And then there was the 761 Tank Battalion that trained at Camp Beauregard and served under General Patton, served this country and fought for this country before they had their civil rights. Can't imagine it. And then I will never forget Dr. Johnny Jones, who filed the bus boycott, 17 days out of law school. Can't imagine a young man filing that suit that African Americans didn't have to ride in the back of the bus. That prompted the bus boycott in Alabama. Started right there in Baton Rouge. But I will never forget when he saw his name on that plaque and began to cry, to finally be recognized for his efforts. And we lost Dr. Jones last year, but to be able to honor him before he passed. You know, there's so many more stories to be told, and these markers are just a start. But this museum will serve as a starting point, and hopefully take bus tours all across Louisiana and visit all the markers that represent those heroes of Louisiana. So we're excited about today and the opening on October 7th and 8th of this museum that will tell these incredible stories, but we still have a lot of work to do. We're just getting started. Thank you for being here to share this special moment, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we'd like to thank all of you for your presence and remember the opening date, October 7th. This concludes our program. We'd like to ask all the speakers, together with the Lieutenant Governor, for photographs, and for the rest of the audience, we'd like to entreat you to enjoy the refreshments that have been prepared for you. Thank you, and good afternoon.
Well, we need a wow factor, and this Dream Cube, I understand, is going to be incredible interaction, artificial intelligence, where you can lean to the right and you'll be talking to Leona Tate or Ruby Bridges, or you lean to the left, you'll be talking to A.Z. Young, and be in the march from Bogalusa to Baton Rouge. The only difference is you won't be in the hot summer heat that they were that summer day when they made that walk. So that is going to be just a wow factor. But all the stories told here, and we're still gathering them. So I'm just excited that we can bring it all together here, that as people visit the conventions and will want to see what's in there, and then hopefully we'll have bus tours that'll take 1, 2, and 3 day trips around Louisiana. And if you look at a lot of the areas where these markers are, like where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his last speech before he was killed, it's a depressed economic area in North Louisiana. Well, busloads will go there. So maybe that store that's overgrown across the street from the church will open back up again. And where Leona Tate's foundation is at that school, there'll be busloads. So hopefully it'll bring business to a lot of these areas in Louisiana that have struggled to bring back those communities, and it breathe new life into them. So it will not only tell a story, it'll help some of these areas that we've long been trying to rebuild throughout Louisiana that deserve a fighting chance.
So we would like to thank the Lieutenant Governor, who's behind us right here, for actually inviting us out to be here today to cover this for you guys. And we will be here for the media opening ceremonies. So stay on the lookout for that. We would also like to thank the Convention Center, all the people who work with the Lieutenant Governor, and the Civil Rights Museum Commission here, and everyone who came together to make this project happen and to make the future projects like the actual permanent museum and the expansion wing of the Convention Center. To make all that happen, we would like to thank all of you guys, because without all of you guys, none of this is possible. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And guess what? There's so much more to come. Thanks to you guys. We appreciate you always. What's amazing is we're here at the introduction of the Louisiana Civil Rights Museum. And what an honor, a privilege, because Miss Jenn and I have something in common. We have family members that were directly involved with the Civil Rights Movement. I'm gonna let her tell her story, but real quick, my Uncle Ronnie Moore, my great uncle, the kids that were Southern University that was actually kicked out after doing a sit-in. He was one of those kids. He was actually arrested for being in a segregated park in Algiers before the college thing. So this museum means more to me than any other project we've been a part of. That's just for real. This museum hits me down in my soul, because this museum is our culture. It's our life as African Americans, as black people in this country. This is our journey. This is our pathway. This is our past, our present, and our future. So I am completely and truly honored to do this. So now I'm going to pass it to Ms. Jenn. She can actually explain to you why this is important to her and tell you the importance of a museum like this.
When I was a little girl, I remember Martin Luther King had come to our school, Corpus Christi, in the 7th Ward. And it was around the time that he was coming and meeting and eating at Dookie Chase. And my parents were well invested into the civil rights movement at a time when people were afraid to be a part of the civil rights movement. Just think early 60s. And my father had already integrated the Musicians Union in the 40s, late 40s. And just knowing that my father was the civil rights activist from, the community, the music industry, to the point where he fought for civil rights within the music industry to teach black musicians pretty much what they're doing now. Become the owner of your own rights, of your own copyright, own your own self and create your own music and understand that, through you owning your own self that you have your own freedom. He learned that the hard way because of his great song, You Talk Too Much, which was a gold record. And being a smart man, he looked around and realized, okay, I'm only getting a cent every million copies or so. And so he taught himself law, fought cases up to the Supreme Court by himself. So that kind of commitment to the civil rights movement was just born and bred in him. So when we hear that New Orleans is being acknowledged with a civil rights museum, just knowing the passion that comes out of what I do as the dance lady, part of that is a redemption song. Like the jazz funeral, all of that is tradition. All of that is coming out of standing up and fighting for what is right. So I have organized all of that passion through my own calling, which was to respond to how can I help the community? How can I raise the consciousness? And as Aaron said, this is our culture. This is our life. More than anything that we do, this is why we do it. So to be a part of this, fast forward, September 25th, 2023, which happens to be my brother Joe's birthday, happy 76th heavenly birthday today.
Along my mother's.
Yes.
Along my mother's, happy 68th. I've actually been to the Civil Rights Museum in DC. I've been to the Lorraine Motel. We have that video actually.
Yes, I have too. That's
It's like we've been to that. Yes. We've done the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta.
Yes.
I've done that too.
Yes.
So the point I'm making is this. to have one here that represents Louisiana and Louisiana's contribution to the greatest movement of our time and maybe of all time, there's nothing better than that. So, with that said, thank you all for watching, and laissez-les bon temps rouler.
La da ba ba ba. We got a civil rights movement. Da da.
Let the good times roll.
Da 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 da. Ba da ba 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 ba.